You ever have one of those neighbors who acts like they were personally appointed by the president to patrol your front yard? Yeah, that's how this whole mess started. Over a few stone slabs. I'm not even kidding. The HOA Karen in our neighborhood threw a fit over my stone walkway like it was a threat to national security. What she didn't realize was that I read the fine print, and I don't back down from people who weaponize rules they don't even understand. So buckle up, because this isn't just a story about some rocks in my yard, it's about what happens when the wrong person gets a taste of power and messes with the right person on the wrong day. I just moved into a quiet, slightly overpriced neighborhood in Central Texas with my wife and our chocolate lab, Bailey. We were your typical mid-30s couple, tech jobs, Amazon packages on the porch daily, trying to keep plants alive. We bought this house because we loved the yard big, green, and shaded by a couple of old oak trees. One problem, the front path was cracked concrete that looked like it had been poured during the Nixon administration. So one weekend, I decided to tear it out and replace it with a curved stone walkway. Natural sandstone slabs, laid with care. It turned out pretty damn nice, simple, tasteful, blended with the yard. Neighbors even complimented it. Everyone except Karen. And I mean that literally. Her name is Karen. Karen Hastings. She lives 3 houses down, but somehow she noticed the moment I laid the first slab. Next morning, she marched over like she was serving a warrant and snapped a photo of my half-finished path. "You didn't get HOA approval," she snapped. I looked up from my work gloves, wiped the sweat off my brow, and said, "You mean for a few landscaping stones?" She pointed a manicured finger at me. "That's a structural change. It violates Section 4B of the Community Exterior Standards. Lady, I've worked in cybersecurity contracts. You think I didn't read the damn CC and RS before I laid a rock?" I smiled politely and said, "Pretty sure it's not. But if you'd like, I'll send you the clause that says otherwise." She just huffed and strutted off like she'd won something. Classic. 3 days later, I got a letter taped to my door. Not mail taped. From the HOA Architectural Review Committee, claiming I was in violation of community design standards. It even included a blurry printout of Karen's photo. I almost laughed. Except they were threatening to fine me $250 a day until I removed the illegal walkway and restored the lawn to its original condition. Now this was starting to piss me off. I replied with a letter of my own, complete with highlighted sections from the HOA handbook, the same one they obviously hadn't read closely. Section 4B specifically exempts stone or paver walkways under 3 feet in width that maintain a natural aesthetic and do not alter drainage patterns. Mine was 2 feet 8 inches and sloped away from the house. I attached photos, a sketch, and even cited a landscaping precedent from another home in the neighborhood with a nearly identical layout approved 5 years ago. I CC'd my lawyer. Because why not? 2 days later, I got another letter. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just a formal notice that my appeal had been denied, and that the HOA board would be holding a vote on whether to escalate to a lien. A lien. Over rocks. That's when I started digging, no pun intended. You see, my job deals with contracts, terms, and loopholes. I started combing through every line of the HOA bylaws, the architectural guidelines, and here's the kicker: the developer's original charter filed with the county. You know what I found? Karen was part of the unofficial committee. She wasn't on the board. She wasn't even elected. She was just a self-appointed compliance monitor. And the Architectural Review Committee? Not legally constituted anymore. Their charter expired 2 years ago when the builder handed off management to the HOA. No one had renewed it. Meaning, they had no legal authority to approve or deny anything. So I wrote back. But this time, I didn't send a letter. I filed a formal complaint with the Texas Property Code Mediation Board and requested arbitration. I also filed a request for declaratory relief in small claims court asking for an official judgment that my walkway was in compliance and that the HOA had no authority to enforce a rule via a defunct committee. 2 days later, Karen showed up at my door again. This time, she was not smug. She was rattled. "This lawyery really going through with it?" she asked, arms crossed, but a little shaky. "Absolutely," I said. "Unless you want to drop all this, write me a formal apology and send out a neighborhood-wide memo clarifying that the committee has no enforcement power." "You're being ridiculous." "No," I said. "You are. But now it's going to cost you." The mediation board ruled in my favor. The judge, during the hearing, practically rolled his eyes when Karen read from her printouts. He said, and I quote, Miss Hastings, if you can't distinguish between a landscaping feature and a structural change, maybe you shouldn't be enforcing building codes. He ruled that the HOA had no standing to fine me, that the walkway was in full compliance, and that the HOA board was operating outside its legal scope by maintaining defunct committees. But here's where it got interesting. Turns out, several other homeowners had been harassed over similar violations and quietly complied. After my ruling, they banded together and requested a full audit of HOA finances. Guess what? Karen had been reimbursing herself for community monitoring expenses as money, print costs, even Starbucks runs using HOA funds. Over $4,200 in 2 years. Boom. Embezzlement. Karen was immediately removed from any volunteer position, banned from committee participation, and required to repay the misused funds or face criminal charges. She resigned from the HOA entirely 2 weeks later. But here's the part that makes me laugh to this day. Her own walkway, leading up to her gaudy pink front door? 5 feet wide. Stamped concrete. No approval. No records. The new board sent her a violation notice. Guess who took a photo and sent it in? That's right. Me. Now the twist? Turns out the neighbor, who had the nearly identical path I referenced in my defense, wasn't a random homeowner. She was the original HOA president from when the community was still under development. A sweet woman in her 60s named Doreen, who moved back recently and stayed quiet. Until she saw how Karen was acting. Doreen came to my defense during the hearing, testified about the intent of the original rules, and called Karen's behavior the exact kind of neighborhood tyranny we tried to avoid. She's now head of the newly formed compliance board, officially elected, and she walks her dog past my house every morning, smiles, and says, "Still love that walkway." Oh, and if someone threatens you with the rules, make sure they're not breaking more of them than you are. What do you think? Was I right to fight back, or should I have just removed the stones and avoided all this drama? Thanks for sticking around to the end, and if you've got a story of HOA insanity, I'd love to hear it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Your support means the world, and your ideas fuel the next showdown.